Aragón. These are the highlights of the last Junior World Championship race that we had at the Circuit de Barcelona, Catalonia a few weeks ago. And it was drama aplenty. This is highlights of the first race where you might have seen Jeremy Alcoba taking a checkered flag, but a 1.5-second penalty meant that Carlos Tatai, who was second across the line, took a debut win in the Junior World Championship. Race 2 later in the afternoon eventually went the way of Alcoba despite some late pressure from Barry Baltus and the number 24 of Xavier Artigas. And after the disappointment of early in the day, it was a race win for the first time in over 18 months for Jeremy Alcoba, but more importantly it saw him jump to the top of the championship standings with Yuki Kunii absent due to a broken wrist. But Kunii back into the picture this weekend and will start from second on the grid, meaning that it truly is game on in the Moto3 Junior World Championship.
It is, and Kunii was back on the top step in the Red Bull MotoGP Rookies Cup last time out in Germany, in one of those races anyway. I think took second in the other, so he's definitely back to fighting fit as the Japanese rider, and it will be pretty interesting to see how that goes for him here now, back on the biggest stage of the season really for him. And yeah, Alcoba, good consistency from the Spaniard, and obviously yeah, he's made the most of that absence, or at least tried his best to do so. But now Kunii has often been the man with the pace, and he is on the front row right alongside him. So good race coming up, I think, here, and hopefully for the man who joins them on the front row, Dennis Öncü, a little bit less drama this time out.
Well, for Dennis Öncü, I don't know how many ladders he's walked under or how many mirrors he's broken, but that poor lad is the most unlucky person I think I know at the moment, despite a qualifying record that sees him qualify second, 7th in the morning, difficult conditions, we'll put that to one side, then pole position with what was at the time the fastest ever lap in Barcelona, and then third today. Still, his best result of the season is 8th that he's managed twice. Added to that, two DNFs, sorry, just the one DNF in Estoril, 2 DNFs in Valencia, and then a DNF in Barcelona as well, which for the most part, 2 of which haven't been his fault.
Yeah, exactly. Obviously, he has made his own mistakes, has the young Turk, but not to that degree, and some really awful luck for him. So he could be one to watch if we finally get to see him over full race distance, although now obviously so far down in the championship standings that it's pretty impossible to see him coming back from it this season. But certainly one to watch, and could be an interesting extra wild card, in a manner of speaking, in the little battle at the front. But obviously the likes of Alcoba and Kunii, an awful lot more on the line in terms of the championship, whereas Öncü, here we see him 15 years old, although he turns 16 fairly soon, doesn't he, because we will be seeing him in the World Championship as a wild card coming up.
Yes.
So yeah, almost old enough to try his hand at the world stage, but as it stands at the moment, yeah, just trying to get that finish under his belt and just desperately, I imagine, gunning for that top step.
Yeah, turns 16 in a week's time, which means that we'll see him in the IO Red Bull KTM squads in Brno and in Austria. He's doing the back-to-back wildcards alongside his brother Jan Öncü as well. But still, a best ever result of 6th place for him in the World Championship, Junior World Championship, as I say, just seems astounding given the pace that he's shown. At every round, he's a former Asia Talent Cup champion. He's battled consistently at the front in the Red Bull Rookies as well, runner-up in 2018 last year, but unfortunately he's not managed to convert that into results so far. Right, let's take you on an onboard lap of MotorLand Aragón then. We're already through turns number 3 here. We'll then flick further, sorry, we're at turn 2. Now we're at turn 3 and we start to build uphill before we then flick left into turn 4, and then you'll see an anchor on the brakes into the 90-degree left-hander of turn number 5. We're on board with one of the Junior Talent Team squads here, quite possibly on board with Yuki Kunii. This may well have been his lap that saw him edge into the middle of the front row of the grid. I'm not sure who he's chasing in front of me there, but it just looked like it's the fluorescent yellow. Quite possibly if his championship rival Alcoba has a good look over his shoulder. We're through turn 7 here, then we're hard on the brakes, downhill, and you'll be able to see now we're on board just how much the gradient drops away as you then flick left through turn number 9, always on the side of the tyre now as you're constantly leaning over through turns 9 and then 10 as you're building ever closer towards turns 11, which is just this little kink coming up here. Incidentally, pole from Jeremy Alcoba of a 1:58.6 is about 1.5 seconds off of the pace that we saw from the World Championship guys when they were here last year. The fastest ever lap set last year, incidentally, by Jorge Martin of a 1:57 dead in qualifying. We're into the first of the 2 chicanes here. This is turns 12 and 13. Before we then pick it up towards the final bus stop chicane, just ever so slightly wide was Yuki Kunii as he gets over the rumble strip there. We're now down, sorry, we've already been through turns 14 and 15. That was the final bus stop chicane. Down the long back straight, over a kilometre in length, then hard on the brakes and you flick left into turn 16. Just edged ever so slightly wide before you then just clip the curve on the inside here for turn 17. Pick it up. Outside him, definitely the track limits there, and he crossed the line and he's an on-board lap. MotorLand Aragón, demonstrated perfectly by one of the junior talent team riders.
And a little bit sunnier skies when that was recorded, although now you can see on the grid we do have umbrellas up for the sun, not the rain, but it's still a little bit cloudy, although I don't think there's any risk of these guys getting their race interrupted, and definitely not a case of a dry line so much as a completely dry track now.
Yeah, completely bone dry now. This man will front row number 2, Xavier Artigas, the winner of last year's European Talent Cup. He is a real talent and one to keep your eye on for the future, because in his debut year in the Junior World Championship, not only has been picked up by the Leopard Junior squad that are currently going fairly well in the World Championship,
just
thanks
fairly
to
well.
a 1-2 finish last time out with Lorenzo Della Porta and Marcos Ramirez. But yeah, Artigas already picked up 2 podiums, probably should have had a third as well, but he was the man to get caught up, as well as Denis Earnshaw and Aleix Viu's high side in Barcelona last time out. He's alongside his teammate, Davide Pizzoli, slightly older of 19 years of age. A podium in Valencia, but those aren't the results that the Leopard Junior squad will have been hoping for from him.
Yeah, I imagine they're not. He certainly needs to focus on consistent finishes, as well as, you know, it's great to get that podium, important of course, but also need to be able to take those points week in, week out as well, to be a little bit further up in the championship. But yeah, those two alongside each other on the second row behind the triumvirate of key names on the front row of Alcoba, Kunii and Onju.
Of a what?
Triumvirate.
Triumvirate?
Sorry, have I gone too literary?
I don't know, what does triumvirate?
It's like trio, basically.
Very nice, very nice.
But here we have Ryusei Yamanaka, winner of that stunning duel with Yuki Kunii in Valencia to take that race win. And then you can see a couple of more difficult races after that, but good for him to get that win under his belt, and could be a man with some good pace today.
I think those
6 on the grid.
Those results are a clear indication that Ryusei Yamanaka is a bit of a win or bust man.
Just a little bit, just a little bit. But then we saw that famously in this very championship from now Suzuki MotoGP rider Joan Mir, who was simply either winning or on the floor in his CEV days. So, you know, it's not all about winning the championship here. It's all about learning racecraft as well, and yeah, competing and getting yourself ready for that next step. So, yeah, good stuff from Yamanaka to get that win, though. That was a really, really impressive ride from him, and I'm sure he'll be hoping to definitely not add to those double-digit numbers on his finishing record today. And
he's had a bit of an experience, or more than an experience, a World Championship level so far this year. He was on Sergio Garcia's bike at the start of the season at Qatar, because Garcia wasn't old enough to take part just yet. He then had a run out at Mugello, where he finished 17th, but his best ride by far in Barcelona at the Catalan Grand Prix, where he managed to edge inside the points, as did Carlos Tatai as well. The pair of them putting together a great performance
Yeah, it's impressive stuff that from these guys, because there is a step between the two, so to be able to take points is a good sign for them.
So here is the grid for the only Moto3 Junior World Championship race here at Aragon. 7 of 12, we're at the halfway point of the season. It's Alcoba, the championship leader, that will start from pole, alongside the returning and resurgent Yuki Kunii. Dennis Ernchu there on the outside of the front row. Row number 2, Xavier Artigas, Davide Pizzoli and Ryusei Yamanaka. And then row number 3, Jose Garcia, David Salvador and Barry Baltus, the man who's currently second in the standings and just 6 points adrift of your leader Alcoba.
Yeah, and then we've got row 4 with Carlos Tatai, Gerard Riu and Max Koffler, another one who'll be wild carding soon. And then Adrian Fernandez, Aleix Viu, Hikaru Arita, Mario Aggi, Jason Dupasquier and Kevin Zanoni on row 6.
Back on to row 7, Yuji Kawakami, the 2 junior talent team riders in Max Cook and Billy Van Erde. Row number 8, Haruki Noguchi, another of the talent team riders as they're all bunched together. Then Inigo Iglesias, Julian Giral, Daniel Holgado, Aaron Polanco and Victor Rodriguez.
And then we have Nicola Fabio Carraro, Matteo Pataka and Matteo Vitelli, that's the 58 squad. Andrea Bostatek, Xavier Kamal Idel Mahadi. And then just lost that second row there. It suddenly went so much quicker. So Simon Jesselson, Luis Verdugo, Alex Diaz, Ryan van der Lagmar, Jamie Davis, Philip Rahacek and Gianpaolo Di Vittori waiting for a full run of the qualifying.
So Alcoba from pole position, he was over a quarter of a second clear of Yuki Kunii in qualifying. But as we've seen in the Junior World Championship over, well, recent years, full stop, often, as we've seen in the Moto3 World Championship, it is going to be a group battle at the front. It's very rare that anybody is allowed or able to escape.
Yeah, most definitely, especially with the 2 long straights here at MotorLand. There's plenty of time to tuck into the slipstream and try and stay with the guy ahead of you, so it could be an interesting one. You can see big field, lots of riders out there. It's almost like a slightly slow motion race on this warm-up lap. It's by no means just a few guys out there ready to race. They're all looking pretty feisty already, really. And I think this should be a good one. I have to see if Alcoba has got the pace and how he goes off the start. And then, of course, Dennis Ernchu as well. We've not really seen him battling it out on the last sort of 2 laps of a race for that podium or race win. So he could be an interesting one, maybe pulling that aggressive pin a little bit to try and get himself onto the top step for the first time.
So there's the championship picture coming into this one. Just 6 points separating Alcoba and Baltus at the top of the table. But Yuki Kunii, having missed out on Barcelona in the 2 races there, didn't do too bad really to end up just 28 points adrift. And you'd be silly to discount Xavier Artigas as well, 29 adrift as well. It looks like it's going to be those 4 fighting it out for the title, although you could possibly just about put an argument together to say that Carlos Tatai's just not out of it yet. 40 points away from Alcoba at the moment is Tatai, but if he can start to transfer the pace that we've seen from him in the Red Bull rookies into this championship, then he's going to be the man to beat in the second half of the season. He's currently the runaway leader of that series.
He is indeed, and yeah, really good pace from him on the KTM in the rookies, and it will be interesting to see if he can just get a little bit more of a solid run together in the Junior World Championship here. See Dennis Ernchu, the first to arrive on the grid, but didn't seem very eager to come around the final corner, did they there? All fairly slow around the back straight, but here we are now all getting ready to race, and can see the final few guys heading up to the last row of the grid before we'll hopefully see the green flag wave and a little bit less time waiting than we just saw in the European Talent Cup as well.
So 15 laps it will be for the only Junior World Championship race here in Aragon. We're at the halfway point of the season. 6 races completed, 6 more to go as Dennis Ernchu pumps himself up, looking for a best finish in the Junior World Championship. Currently that stands at 6, but he is far better than that. But it's all about the men in first and second who are fighting out for the championship. Alcoba's on pole and gets a good start, but it's nowhere near as good as Yuki Kunii from second on the grid, back onto a Junior World Championship grid after wrist surgery a few weeks ago. And it's a dynamite start from the Japanese rider as a number have gone down. That looks like Jose Garcia that's gone down. Possibly, is that Kawakami as well, one of the Andrés Perez Foundation machines as well. but there was a couple of riders that didn't go down, but definitely got caught up in this one. Meanwhile, it's the 4 men at the top of the championship that are breaking clear. Kunii, Alcoba, Artigas and Baltus are your leading quartet.
Yeah, stunning start from Kunii there, managing to stay clear of any possible drama just by having a few tenths in his pocket already around the first 2 corners. But Alcoba, pretty solid job, and he's stayed in second, so not too much harm done if he can stay with Kunii. Looks like he might be going to attack already as well. But that crash down at turns 1 and 2, so easily done at Aragon. There is a big runoff area that you can use, but obviously once you get that shuffle of contact and a few guys going down, it really can make a bit of a gap in the field.
It looks like it was Ryusei Garcia, the man to go down there, who already has 2 podiums to his name. Yeah, Garcia, the 1 man to go down, and Kawakami as well, a part of the Andreas Perez Foundation squad, or the Real Avintia Junior Team, for those that are MotoGP fans will know. And it was a big high side from Garcia. I think he had a bit of a coming together with possibly Pizzoli. It was definitely one of the Leopard bikes. We'll see it on the inside here, one of the replays. Just look at the number 20 in the middle of the picture. It gets so tight, and that is a monster high side. And Kawakami actually had a coming together with another guy, and that caused him to go down, not the crash of Garcia. Meanwhile, back at the front, Artigas is the man making his way through up to second place, and now looking to put an attack on the race leader, Yuki Kunii, at the bottom of the back straight.
Yeah, good stuff from Artigas. These 2 guys seem to have been able to more than stay with Kunii on this first lap, so it will be interesting to see how this develops, because obviously Kunii, last time out we saw him take pretty impressive dominant wins when he was at full strength before he missed those races. But it looks like these guys are going to be in a bit of a group battle today here at MotorLand.
It's a good start coming from Mario Aggi as well. Super Mario, the number 34, has just tagged himself onto the back of this leading 10 that have broken clear. At the moment, the leading 10 involves Artigas, Kunii, Alcoba, Baltus, Davide Pizzoli, Yamanaka's there in 6th, Ernchu's in 7th, and then Gerard Rio, Aleix Viu, and then Mario Aggi. So those are the 10 that have managed to just detach themselves ahead of Hikaru Arita in 11th.
Yeah, that's a really good start, like you say, from Aggi. An impressive pace from him in the dry. We saw him really impressive to take 4th in Estoril in the wet, but since then just struggled a little bit more to bank those points. But really on point here today, and yeah, fighting for that top 10, never mind just points. And yeah, the last man in this group, as you can see, that Astra Honda red and white machine just at the back here.
Meanwhile, another junior talent team man in the form of Yuki Kunii just momentarily will shuffle back to 3rd place, but he's back into 2nd now with his sights on Artigas out front. The 16-year-old hasn't picked up a race win so far in his debut Junior World Championship season, as they edged into the Real Avintia Junior squad box, and you saw the reigning Junior World Championship champion in Raul Fernandez, who's here supporting his brother, who's a part of that squad.
Yes, don't worry, it's not a mistake on behalf of the Angel Nieto Team rider. It's just here supporting his brother Adrian, who is basically like a slightly miniature version of Raul. It's really quite incredible. But yeah, so here you can see then at the moment there's a little bit of daylight between the top 2 of Artigas and Kunii, and then Alcoba on the chase. But at the moment it's still a pretty tight fight for that top 10. And yeah, it looks like we're going to get a good race here today at MotorLand. But Kunii certainly looking like he wants to be in the lead of it, and doesn't seem so comfortable to sit behind Artigas in 2nd.
Here comes Alcoba, though, the championship leader, 6 points, the better off of Barry Baltus at the moment, but that's going to change surely with over 13 laps to tick away. You can see the number 81 of Aleix Viu just popping out to the side as he looked to move past his teammate Baltus. Ernchu's making a move as well, up to now 5th place, and it's Pizzoli as well that's starting to battle through. He's now up into 3rd and onto the rear wheel of his teammate Artigas. Meanwhile, as it all went down into that first corner, it's Alcoba that's popped out as the race leader.
It is. Alcoba must have absolutely nailed that final corner last time around, because he was already challenging for the lead well before the start finish line, and never mind in the braking zone into turn 1. So good stuff from the number 52, and back ahead in this race. But like you said, Pizzoli as well made some good progress up to get on terms with his teammate. Why is he looking behind him at this stage in the race? It's Moto3. There will be someone behind you. So So you can see then that did cost him the lead pretty much, just giving it up there, and the Leopard machines have got an Alcoba sandwich now, so it'll be interesting to see what happens from here. But like I said, on Chu as well, so far so good for the young Turk right in this battle, and yeah, able to make a couple of moves and make a couple more places up last time around. But Kunii again not looking like he's satisfied sitting behind these guys.
It really does baffle me why Alcoba had a big look over his shoulder there. We're on lap 2 of the Junior World Championship race, and you've just come across the line, you've seen your pit board, it's going to say +0. Maybe he wants to see how many riders are there, but just get your head down, especially when you're leading your race as well, this early on. And he's paid the penalty for it as well, with Pizzoli able to move back past him. Incidentally, we have had no jump starts, which is good news. A couple of fallers gone down, the number 50 being one of them of Jason de Pasquier, and the number 3 of Kevin Zanoni as well. But nobody a part of this leading 10 is yet to find the gravel trap. They're all battling the way round. One man, incidentally, in fact the fastest man on track, is Carlos Tatai. He's the man leading the Red Bull Rookies Championship at the moment. Just comes across past our commentary box here, and he's made a move up to 14th. I think he quite possibly has been one man to have gotten caught up in the antics into the first corner on the opening lap, and as a result that's why he was all the way down outside of the points, because he definitely has the pace to be within this leading 10. Yeah,
you'd expect he'd definitely be within this leading 10, so it must have been something to just drop him down to where he is. But at the moment then, no harm done for the guys just behind Pizzoli. They've more than managed to reel him back in, and it's now Kunii and Alcoba on the chase. But these top 4 at the moment, just like they maybe got a little bit in hand above, is it Baltus right behind them? Or no, it's Aleix Viu, apologies. But Dennis Ontra at the moment, the man who's going a little bit backwards in this group. You see him headed a little bit wide a few corners ago and paid the price for that, and just shuffled out of where he'd want to be, I imagine, at the moment.
Yeah, Aleix Viu in 5th place there, a 2-time runner-up in the Red Bull Rookies Cup. I'm sure at now 18 years of age, he will have felt he's been overdue an opportunity of a full season in the World Championship. He did get a chance at a couple of rounds as part of the Angel Nieto Qatar squad when Albert Arenas had that unfortunate cycling incident halfway or in the opening rounds of the season. But he's back in the Junior World Championship now, and that's his main focus. Meanwhile, back at the front, it's now Yuki Kunii, who had taken the lead, but he runs quite a long way wide there. He's taking the car park route into turn 12, which is going to give an opportunity for the men behind him to possibly slipstream the way back past. There's Jason de Pasquier, who was one of the earlier fallers, but he's clearly rejoined, and then the KTM machine has just conked out on him.
Yeah, looks like he's off on a bit of an adventure there. Hopefully some marshals come and help him with that. If he can't get the bike started as well, he'll be a bit trapped out there, I imagine. But so the Leopard guys then down on pit wall, waiting to see their guys come around the final corner. And it's still Pizzoli who's in the lead, but Kunii looks like he's going to attack once again. So yeah, Kunii definitely wants to be in the head of this race. But now we've got a Leopard 1-2 as Artigas makes short work of that and gets back up into the podium places. And Alcoba, the man to really lose out there in that little shuffle.
And Aleix Viu, the man on the move as well, as you can see, the fastest man on track at the moment, now up into 4th place. The leading 6 riders just detaching themselves from Dennis Ernchu in 7th there. The gap is 3/4 of a second as they came across the line. So Dennis is going to have to put his head down here to not allow these top 6 to break clear. Behind him at the moment is Gerard Riou and Mario Adji, as well as Barry Baltus as well, the Belgian, who is only 6 points adrift of Alcoba in the championship fight. Will have been hoping for a much better performance here to keep himself in the dust-up for the Junior World Championship. But meanwhile, having missed a round, Yuki Kunii back into the championship, and he's starting to recoup some points, or certainly will be if he can continue to ride like this.
Yeah, he really will be. And yeah, good performance so far from Kunii. It doesn't seem to be any trouble getting back on track and fighting it out at the front once again. But like you say, that gap behind these guys at the front now is pretty sizable. And it's Ryusei Yamanaka who's the last man in this top 6. Impressive performance from him to stay with these guys. And yeah, certainly Baltus you would expect to be with these guys, you'd think. And certainly also the likes of the second Angel Nieto team. Sorry, that's Baltus. I've just confused myself completely.
Possibly,
but anyway, exactly. That's who I was trying to say. Dennis Onchu as well would want to be there, but you can see they've got their own little squabble there as this front group has just split. But it will be interesting to see if they can try and close in a little bit. And these guys, they are squabbling a little bit, but they're not costing themselves too much time at the moment. So I'm sure the likes of Onchu and Baltus and I think Mario Agi's still in there, that little squabble behind these guys. Yeah, there's 4 guys there fighting it out. They, I'm sure, will want to see a bit of a bigger battle at the front and people getting in each other's way.
It's Kunii at the moment who is just sat inside a Leopard Junior Team sandwich with Pizzoli leading and Artigas there in 3rd place, but Viu having still set the fastest lap of the race. In fact, no, scrap that. It's Yamanaka on the back of this group that now holds that bragging right.
Yeah, a good ride from the Estrella Galicia rider. And, ooh, that was going to be a little bit optimistic, I think, that. So, yeah, no drama though. Kunii just, yeah, settles back into 2nd there. Did look like those guys were pulling a little bit of a gap there, but it seems to have been closed up again. You can see Kunii there a little bit wide as well. So I'm sure Viu will be soon to try and pounce. And he's obviously also got past Artigas at some point, has the Spaniard.
Right on cue, there goes Aleix Viu into 2nd place. And now he sets his sights on Pizzoli with a couple of mistakes coming from Yuki Kunii. It's just allowed the Italian to edge 4-5 bike lengths clear, which is the biggest lead we've seen in this race so far. Still 10 laps to go though, and Viu, with the pace that he's shown so far, is more than capable of closing in the number 23 in front of him. There goes Alcoba looking up the inside of Artigas behind, but no way through. And it's definitely this front 6 that are broken clear now, because despite the efforts of Gerard Rieu, who leads the secondary group, they are over 2 seconds adrift now of this leading 6.
Yeah, that whole hopefully the front group will squabble kind of vibe, not really paying off for those guys. It is pretty sizable, like you said. And now I imagine, although Pizzoli was pretty impressive leading that race there, I imagine this back straight is going to see them close in a fair bit on the Italian. And I wouldn't be surprised if into turn 1 next time around it's all pretty close together again. But good ride from Pizzoli, like we said, just lacking a bit of consistency this year. So solid job from him. And then obviously Viu as well on an absolute charge with those few fastest laps and now really making some moves.
Yeah, Pizzoli has probably lacked consistency throughout his Junior World Championship career. He's been in it since 2015. And in terms of the championship, he's finished 13th, 27th and 22nd, as that's Aleix Viu that's gone wide into turn number 1.
Yeah, got a bit shuffled out, did he there? Just a little bit optimistic, trying to fit 3 or 4 of them abreast through turn 1. You can't do that, but like you said a little bit earlier, that runoff area, there is space to use it and avoid that crash and manage to slot back in. But a bit of disappointment for the man who was really hitting the gas.
Yeah, he's lost touch with now what is a leading 5, or you could say a leading 1, because Pizzoli is over half a second clear of his teammate Artigas. Is he starting to break clear with 9 laps remaining? Both Artigas and Alcoba will, I'm sure, be starting to get slightly worried with the pace of the 18-year-old Italian in front of them.
Yeah, I think I was proved completely wrong there, wasn't I? I thought they'd all close up into turn 1. And they were a lot closer, but he can see Viu just getting a little bit of a
helping hand from
yes.
Jeremy Alcoba. Didn't really have much of a say in that at all, did Aleix Viu, because Alcoba well and truly parked it under the inside of him and left him nowhere to go but to pick it up and run wide. So I'm sure he won't be best pleased, Aleix Viu, and if he does manage to catch up with him again, I think there may well be a finger wagging or 2 in the direction of Alcoba. Yeah,
I'm sure it's pretty fired up now, Aleix Viu, but he did have, like we said, the best pace of this leading group at the time. He set a couple of fastest laps, maybe a little bit deep into there, but you wouldn't bet against him maybe trying to close these guys down again. We've seen in the European Talent Cup race just earlier on that you can make up that gap when you're on a charge, but at the moment then it's Pizzoli still absolutely clear in the lead. No big dramas for the Italian so far. Really solid performance from him. He's not particularly used to leading a race for quite this amount of time, so it's good to see him managing to iron out any mistakes, and just a solid job so far from the Leopard rider, as again the guys just behind him seem to just be slowing themselves up a little bit. But this time I think it's going to be Kunii doing the Alcoba dive bomb, and the Japanese rider back into 2nd place then. See if he's got the pace to try and pull the pin and get back on terms with Pizzoli.
Picked off 2 riders there into the first corner, did Yuki Kunii. Great move from him. But meanwhile, there's more disappointment for the junior talent team, because that's Billy Van Erde, fresh from a great Red Bull Rookies performance in the Saxon Ring a week ago, where he was battling for the podium for the first time in that series. But the front end's just folded on him as he tried to get on the gas down the back straight. So a disappointing end to his weekend here in Aragon for Billy Van Erde. But meanwhile, at least there's a junior talent team rider at the front of the race in the form of Yuki Kunii. Number 33 has made his way past Davide Pizzoli, and now suddenly the Japanese rider is back at the front.
Yeah, good performance from Kunii. Made short work of that gap, really. Just pulled the pin and got back on terms with the Italian. Be interesting to see now what the guys on the chase do and whether Kunii's got a little bit of pace in his pocket. But yeah, Bill Van Erde, obviously that would be a disappointment for him. Like we said, had a really good weekend in the rookies, certainly in terms of pace. Bit of disappointment with how it all shuffled in the end for him. But yeah, remember, he is here after only 1 year in the Asia Talent Cup when he did win that. So he is a couple of years behind some of his teammates in terms of experience, but with the likes of Kunii at the head of the field as a really good example of what can be achieved within that team, then it can only be up from here, I think. And some certainly better pace on terms with some of his teammates this weekend, Bill Van Erde.
So here comes Pizzoli, was tucked in behind Yuki Kunii. He's going to take the long route around the Japanese rider. Meanwhile, his teammate Artigas, he's going to look to go up the inside into turn number 16. He had a big look, did Artigas, but no way through there. And I think even a couple of the guys in the Leopard squad were just starting to think for a second.
Slightly, please be careful, but no harm done. And yeah, definitely looked like he was tempted there. But Kunii holds firm in second, certainly. And the Japanese rider hits the front once again into turn 1. Seems pretty strong there, does Kunii, but Pizzoli definitely not willing to give it all up so easily. And those 2 Leopard guys looking pretty racy here. The likes of Alcoba and Yamanaka now, a little bit of a quieter ride at the back of this group, just content to sit there, it would seem.
Good move from Pizzoli just before they got hard onto the brakes into turn 5 here. He slipped up the inside into turn 4. Good move from him, and is now go through turn 6 and then hard on the brakes once more for turn number 7. Meanwhile, Alcoba's up to 3rd place, and it was a leading group of 5, but Aleix Viu has regathered his thoughts and he's now back onto the rear wheel of Ryusei Yamanaka, and he's well in the hunt for a race win.
He is. So good stuff from Viu there. It's so easy to get a bit flustered and lose your head and make a mistake after that kind of incident, let's call it, at turn 1 with Jeremy Alcoba. But the Spaniard is well and truly back in this group now, and it'll only get easier now he's a bit closer as well, be able to tag onto the back of them with that slipstream. But yeah, obviously Jeremy Alcoba immediately proving me wrong there and getting back in the fight for the top 3, and it's all getting a little bit feistier now as we get into the latter half of this race.
4 abreast they were into turn number 12, where the iconic wall of Aragon stands, and the man to come out on top was Pizzoli, who again finds himself at the front of the race. But Alcoba, having been sat in 4th, is now starting to just pick his way through to the front of the pack. Now in seconds, tucked in behind the number 23, the Husqvarna of Alcoba, up against the Honda of Pizzoli, and despite being tucked in behind him, it looks as though the Honda has got the legs on the Husqvarna of Alcoba in 2nd place.
Yeah, definitely expected a little bit more of a change there, but no, Alcoba not able to gain too much down the back straight. Kunii's a little bit hung out to dry there, but cuts back in nicely, does the Japanese rider. And it's Pizzoli again who's in charge of this one, but I imagine we're going to get a pretty interesting shuffle through turns 1 and 2 now.
Again, the 4 abreast. This time Artigas looking for a way through, but it's Kunii that comes out on top. He's proven already he's the latest of the late breakers in this leading group, and again he hits the front after a move into turn number 1. Pizzoli settles into 2nd, but you have to keep an eye on Yamanaka and Viu at the back of the group, because we barely even mentioned them, but they're only a 10th off the race leader.
Yeah, it's everything to play for. These guys will surely make up the podium, but even across the whole top 6, no idea in what order. No idea, maybe Viu, Yamanaka and those guys just at the back of this group could be hanging in there, waiting to make their move, bit more tactics, and it's pretty tight fight in this group as well, this 2nd group now. So some good stuff from Carlos Tatai to be in there, and Mario Agi, pretty notable performance there for him. And Dennis Onchu, I'm sure, will be a bit disappointed at being caught up in this battle and not very close to the podium fight.
This is the fight for 7th place, and I think Carlos Tatai will just be thinking thinking, what could have been? Without a doubt, he must have been caught up in the first corner antics on the opening lap of the race, because it saw himself 18th as he came across the line. But the manner in which he's just picked his way through, now up into 8th place and all over the rear wheel of Gerard Riu, he surely, and going by the lap charts and the times we can see on our screens, he has the pace to run with the leaders and possibly challenge for the win. But instead, after a mistake or possibly getting caught up in someone else's mistake on lap 1, it means that 8th is, or 7th should I say, is going to be the best they can hope for this afternoon. Unless
we get a big drama at the front.
Well, don't be wishing for anything like that, Fran.
Not wishing, but we've certainly seen it before in this class. It can get pretty hairy out there, especially in the last few laps of a race. But so far, these guys, it's a good battle, but it's fairly clean. Alcoba maybe a little bit aggressive earlier on Aleix Viu, but they're all packed together still, and we've still got now 5 whole laps of this pretty long and technical MotorLand. There is more than enough race left in this one.
Pizzoli led across the line, but he's been shuffled back to 3rd place because through comes Kunii and Alcoba, and Kunii gets a good run through turn 2 there, just to be able to eke out a couple of bike lengths over Alcoba behind him. Artigas still settled there in 4th, and again, we've yet to mention either Yamanaka or Viu. The only thing that you could possibly question with Viu is, having been punted wide into turn 1, has he used up a bit of his tyre life just to be able to get back onto the rear wheel and in touching distance of the leading 5?
Yeah, I think that'll certainly be a question mark in a couple of laps' time. Does look like he's maybe struggling a little bit more than these guys to keep the pace, although obviously still very much part of the group. Just not quite the same tiny slither of daylight as there is between the other guys in this. But Yamanaka certainly is just sitting there nice and quietly, just keeping the rhythm and keeping out of trouble is the Japanese rider.
So as they make their way through turns number 10 and then 11, Kunii is the man who still leads. What an important victory this would be to get his championship contention back on track. Alcoba is the title leader at the moment, 6 clear of Barry Baltus, who's down in 8th place. So it looks as if he's going to extend his advantage over Baltus. But the issue is Kunii has come back into the championship and is once again fighting at the front and showing the same form that he did before he had that injury in Mugello as part of the Red Bull Rookies Championship.
Yeah, and here you can see Carlos Tatai then able to just pull clear of that little group, and both him and Baltus have managed to get past Gerard Riu, who was leading that fight a couple of minutes ago. So good performance from Tatai, but yeah, I'm sure he will have wanted to be a little bit further forward, as would Baltus, but good pace from those guys, although I think it's a little bit late in the day for any last-minute miracles.
Fastest man on track was Tatai last time around, so he will be spitting feathers that he's not battling in this top 6. Unfortunately, the gap, though, is 4.5 seconds, so he's not going to be able to close that down in 4 laps. So it's going to come down to one of these 6 riders to taste victory in the Junior World Championship here at Aragon. And at the moment, favourite is Jeremy Alcoba, because he's just hit the front in front of Yuki Kunii.
Yes, a good ride from all of these guys in this front group. One name to mention maybe in that second group, though. Mario actually still in that top 10, but Dennis Onchu is the man who's lost out as the likes of Tatai and Baltus have moved forward. So the 2017 Asia Talent Cup champion was in 12th over the line last time around, so not what he would have wanted after that front row start.
And again, both Alcoba and Kunii having big looks over the shoulders there. Almost simultaneously, the pair of them had a look over the left-hand shoulder, and as a result, Kunii loses out because Artigas, that is, that's edged his way further forward, now up to 2nd place.
Bit of a high-octane conversation going on there. It wasn't even just a look, was it? So, yeah, not sure exactly what that was about. Almost like, I'm watching you, son. So I have to see how this plays out. But, yeah, they did lose out a little bit to Artigas, but Kunii straight back in there.
That's Aleix Viu with a huge moment coming into turns number 12. Caught up in it as well. It looks as though that was Yamanaka, but that is a massive crash for Aleix Viu. Fortunately, he is moving, but unsurprisingly winded after that one.
Yeah, definitely. That was a huge crash. Incredible for him to at least avoid Yamanaka and those guys just ahead of him. Just tagged the back of that Leopard machine, and then Yamanaka, look how close he is to getting bowled out by that bike as well. But hopefully then Viu will be okay. Like you said, you can't not be winded after an impact like that, and then that's left this front group then. It's 3-1 at the moment.
Certainly is. It's Kunii that leads in front of Alcoba, and then Artigas. Pizzoli just in touching distance still, despite getting clobbered onto the rear wheel by Aleix Viu. Yamanaka got caught up in it and had to run wide, which means that he's out of the fight for the win now. So it's going to come down to these 4 riders, and through comes Artigas into second place as we start lap number 12, which means we've got 3 remaining here in Aragon.
We do. So Kunii now, he might be looking to pull the pin a little bit with the Japanese rider with a few laps left, but certainly now it's going to be a little bit less to gain maybe for some of these championship challenges, because there's less machines to try and get in between themselves and their key rivals. So you can see Aleix Viu then just getting to his feet. Obviously huge impact, that crash, really, really big high side for him. And yeah, just tagging the back of one of those Leopard machines. Was it Artigas, I think? And yeah.
I think it was Pizzoli, but
was it?
It was View's fault, to be fair.
It was, yeah.
Way too hot.
He most definitely caused that, but yeah, really dramatic end to that race, but good to see him up and starting to move and get up out the gravel trap there.
Of course, it looks as though there's still going to be waved yellow flags as we go into turn 12, which we're now edging towards now. They'll flick left over the rise of the crest of the hill of turn 11 before getting hard onto the brakes into turns number 12 and 13 here. And as a result, Artigas, who has been shuffled back to 4th place, had a look up the inside of his teammate, but just had to back off with waved yellow flags still being indicated there. We're now into the final chicane of 14 and 15, then flick it left, and Alcoba's looking strong here. He's tucked right in behind Yuki Kunii. Let's just see how strong the Husqvarna is here against the Honda of Kunii. He's closing in on him, because if he's in this position on the final lap, it'll be interesting to see a bit of a dress rehearsal here, possibly on the last lap. He pulls out the slipstream, but the Honda's definitely got the legs on the Husqvarna.
Yeah, you can see not gaining as much as I'm sure he would have wanted, tucked behind the bubble there, Jeremy Alcoba, but he does seem pretty strong throughout the latter half of the lap. And we've seen Kunii, on the other hand, the absolute king of turns 1 and 2. See if the Japanese rider can prove me right for once this time around. But then the Leopard machines as well now right back in the mix. There's a little bit more daylight around much of that lap, but it looks like now it's bunched right back up again.
It's unsurprising given what we've seen in the World Championship with the Husqvarna, which is pretty much a KTM with a different badge on it, not having the legs against the Honda. The Hondas in the World Championship have had the little bit of top-end speed over the KTM so far this year, and that appears to be the case here as well. So Alcoba, the only man in this leading group to be on something other than a Honda, with the 2 Leopards there on Honda machinery, as well as the junior talent team bike of Yuki Kunii. 1.5 laps remaining, and Kunii's the one that leads at the moment, but the Leopard squad of Pizzoli and Artigas are looking fairly strong in 3rd and 4th place. They look as if they're ready and waiting to pick up the pieces when the 2 championship protagonists start to go to war.
So you're going to predict that then. I think it's going to come down to a fairly explosive finish, this one. But yeah, those 2 Leopard guys certainly looking pretty racy. Although obviously at the moment for that 3rd place, I think they're well aware that these 2 guys ahead of them will probably create some fireworks in a few corners' time. Artigas
again having a look up the inside of his teammate, but we have been told that there's still waved yellow flags at turn 12 as a result of that Aleix Viu incident 2 laps ago. So we had to think second best and just pull out of the move and stick in 4th place. Meanwhile, this is the battle now for 5th, with Yamanaka falling into the clutches of Carlos Tatai, Barry Baltus, Gerard Riu and Mario Aggi there as well. The last man on that group is Julian Giral, with Earnchu now outside of the top 10, not able to convert his qualifying form once again. But this is going to be our focus. There's going to be just 1 lap to go, just over 5 kilometres here in Aragon, to decide who's going to pick up the Junior World Championship victory. Kunii will lead them across the line, but in close quarters is Alcoba, Pizzoli and Artigas are going to be 3 abreast, 4 abreast into the first corner. Artigas was 4th over the line. I thought for a second he was going to be able to take 1st place, but instead he's going to be 2nd as Alcoba runs wide. He's the man to lose out most, but Kunii has taken full advances and just edged 2 bike lengths clear. How important will that be on the final half of the lap? Yeah, you can see Kunii once again, the absolute master of turns 1 and 2, the Japanese rider. Alcoba losing out a little bit, but he's made short work of getting back into 2nd place, and we did see him have some impressive pace in the latter half of the lap last time around. I think this is going to go all the way to the final corner in the line. It certainly looks to be that way. A couple of overtaking opportunities coming up here. First downhill into turns 8 and 9. Will Alcoba pop up and edge his way past? Not here. He's going to stick in behind Kunii as he then flick left, downhill through turn 9. Artigas there in third and Pizzoli fourth, still in contention. The yellow flags as we come up towards turn 12 have been brought in now, so it's another overtaking opportunity coming up. Those are the talent team squad watching on eagerly, with Kunii still leading with half a lap to go. Out pops Artigas. Is he going to wedge past Alcoba? No, he's not. He holds on to second place, but he's firmly got his eyes fixed on the number 32 ahead of him of Yuki Kunii. And he now flick right in towards the final chicane. Here comes Alcoba to make a move into the last chicane. He takes the lead in front of Kunii, but runs wide. An opportunity for Artigas, maybe, or even Pizzoli. Artigas on the flick back. He's going to hit the front as we go down the back straight for the final time. It's 4 riders abreast. Oh, what's going to happen as we come into the final corner here? The race leader, Kunii, has been dropped back to third. Artigas holding on as he switched towards the left-hand side. A move is surely going to come from Alcoba on the brakes as he looks to dive past him. The 52 tries to get through, as does Kunii as well. Is he going to run wide and hold on? It looks as if he's going to go wide, and Artigas will slip back under the inside, as does Kunii as well. Who's going to take the drag towards the flag? Artigas is surely going to take it, but only just. Less than a tenth of a second ahead of Jeremy Alcoba, and it's a debut Junior World Championship win for Xavier Artigas on a dramatic final lap that saw Yuki Kunii eventually come across the line in 4th place. He led them across the line a lap ago. He's less than a tenth of a second adrift of the eventual race winner, but only 13 points for the junior talent team rider. Alcoba manages to salvage second, and Pizzoli back onto the podium. Delight for the Leopard junior squad to have a men first and third, but what a final half of the lap. All coming from Alcoba, making that lunge up the inside into turn 14, sorry, before they then flicked left for 15. They both ran wide, allowing Artigas and Pizzoli behind, as we thought they were going to do, to pick up the pieces. And Xavier Artigas, the talented 16-year-old, the reigning European Talent Cup champion, is going to stand on top of the podium in the Junior World Championship for the first time in his young career. A good ride from Jeremy Alcoba sees him take second place, but more importantly, it'll see him extend out his championship lead over both Barry Baltus, who came across the line in 8th, and Yuki Kunii, who came across the line in 4th. But Artigas, who is 4th in the championship, 29 points adrift, will close in further than he was before he came to Aragon, but only by the 5 points. A faller on the final lap, it looks like that possibly Isam Ikmal. It's certainly one of the Sepang International Circuit riders. Yeah, Isam Ikmal the faller, the other being Andrei Voshtitek. And the final chicane on the final lap. In the end, that battle for 5th place going the way of Gerard Rieu, incidentally. This is the crash though. Oh, it's not even into the final chicane, it's into turn 16. A late last gap move from Ismail, but he got it all wrong, clipping the back end of Andrei Voshtitek, and down they went. But it's this man, Xavier Artigas. What a final lap that was, filled with drama, and just look at the gaps over the line. 0.02 of a second between first and second, and 0.093 of a second separating first, second, third and fourth. It cannot get any closer than that. What a superb race, with Artigas now to come out on top. Carlos Tatai does take 7th in the end after setting the fastest lap of the race. I'm sure he'll be bitterly disappointed he wasn't able to get himself into the fight for the win. But his focus surely will be on the Red Bull rookies. Next time they're in action, he's at the Red Bull Ring in Austria as part of the Austrian Grand Prix. He leads that championship by some margin over Yuki Kunii. So I think that will be his focus now as he hopes to wrap up that Red Bull rookies title. It's game on in the Junior World Championship after that win for Xavier Artigas. This is how Aleix Viu's race came to a sudden and dramatic end, clipping the back end of Davide Pizzoli, who was spat over the top as he went into turn 12. Luckily, we did see pictures of him just about slowly but surely getting onto his feet and moving out of danger, but unsurprisingly fairly heavily winded as a result of that one. But after playing the perfect waiting game, Xavier Artigas was sat there in 3rd and 4th place for so much of the race, barely tasted the front of the Junior World Championship scrap, but then picked his moment right at the very end after Alcoba and Kunii went wide into the final chicane, scuppered the run down the back straight. And although Alcoba made a last lap, last corner lunge up the inside of the Spaniard, he would run ever so slightly wide and Artigas would slip back underneath him to take his first ever win in the series, backing up a second place finish at the opening race in Estoril and third place last time out in Barcelona. He's now completed the set, and that looks like Grandad is delighted with him to have picked up a first win. Joined in the podium by Alcoba and Pizzoli as well. We've got to give a mention to Davide Pizzoli, led the race for quite a long time. Actually matches his best ever Junior World Championship result of third that he took in the first race at Valencia early in the year. It looks like he's finally just starting to put a season together as the Italian. He's into his 5th year in the series, and prior to this, 4th was his best result, but now tasting podium success on 2 occasions. This is where it all went down on the final lap. Alcoba diving through, but running wide. And for a second, I thought Kunii was just going to get the better of him as well, but just getting held up did Kunii and allowed Pizzoli to then drag back past him to take the final podium spot. But Artigas held on. Those were the disappointed faces of Junior Talent Team, and those are the delighted faces of the Laglisse Academy. But even more delighted is the face of this man, Xavier Artigas, after picking up his first ever Junior World Championship win. Let's get his thoughts with Fran Wild.
So that was an incredible race. Everything came right down to the line, and you took your first ever win in Moto3 here in the CEV. How does that feel?
Yes, I feel very good. They are amazing race because I stay every time in 4th place, and I watched in the last lap. I talked with my team after, and in the last lap I overtake Jeremy and Kunii. It was an amazing race, and thank you everyone, sponsors, my family, and everyone who support me.
Perfect. Y en castellano también, por favor.
Ha sido una carrera increíble, ha sido mi primera victoria. Hemos hablado con el equipo un poco de estrategia y al final ha salido. Quiero dar las gracias a todos los que me ayudan, a los sponsors, a la familia, al equipo Leopard que ha trabajado muy bien. Y me he encontrado muy cómodo con la moto, sabía que podía atacar un poco más, pero me estaba reservando un poco para el final y al final he ganado. Muchas gracias a todos.
Enhorabuena.
Gracias.
Very happy with that one, unsurprisingly. Xavier Artigas to making his way through from 3rd as he entered the final lap to take the victory. Here's exactly how it happens. The highlights from the only Junior World Championship race here in Aragon. It was Alcoba that started from pole position, but Kunii took the whole shot. Meanwhile, behind both Kawakami and Garcia having huge incidents at turn 1 with Carlos Tatai caught up in that one, dropping him further down the field. It allowed a leading 4 to break clear, with Aleix Viu managing to battle his way through into 2nd place with Pizzoli leading, but that leading quartet quickly became 5 and then became 6, but then became 5 again after Aleix Viu was punted wide at turn number 1 through Jeremy Alcoba. The fight to the front was fierce, with Kunii taking control at one stage, only for the Leopard Junior Team to gang up on him and reclaim the lead through Pizzoli and Artigas there as well, with Alcoba still in contention. As we entered into the closing stages, Pizzoli was the race leader, but Kunii was having none of it, trying to retake the lead. Meanwhile, Alcoba and Kunii both having big looks over the shoulders with 3 laps remaining to see that it wasn't going to come down to just between them two onto the final lap. Kunii managed to re-battle his way through to 2nd place, but the race would come to a dramatic end for Aleix Viu after clipping the rear wheel of Davide Pizzoli into turn number 12, which would leave just 4 riders on the final lap to battle it out. Kunii was leading, with Alcoba, Artigas and Pizzoli in close contention, and then a move from Artigas coming fairly shortly into turns number 14 and 15 on the very last lap of the race would mean it all hell would break loose down the back straight for the penultimate time. Kunii was the man that led with the Junior Talent Team squad, watching on rather anxiously, and then Alcoba would make this move here into turns 14. Both him and Kunii would run wide. Artigas would get them on the flick back. but then a late lunge from Alcoba saw him hit the front, but ever so slightly momentarily, because back came through Artigas. All four of them were swinging from side to side before they took the checkered flag, with the top four separated by less than a tenth of a second. But more importantly, the number 24 of Artigas taking the checkered flag for the first time in his young career. Confirmation of those results then show Xavier Artigas as your race winner by just 0.02 of a second ahead of Jeremy Alcoba, with the fellow Leopard Junior squad rider in Davide Pizzoli taking the final podium spot. Yuki Kunii in fourth. Gerard Riu in the end won the battle for fifth ahead of Ryusei Yamanaka. Carlos Tatai, Barry Baltus and Julian Giral in what was just as fiercely contested. A top 10 finish for Super Mario. Mario Adji, a good ride from him, ahead of Denis Ernchu, Daniel Holgado, Max Koppler, David Salvador and Adrian Fernandez taking the final podium points. Max Cook came through to take 16th, just missing out on a point scoring finish. Further back, Haruki Noguchi, as part of the junior talent team, was 20th, with Jamie Davis having his first taste of the Junior World Championship this season, at least, in 26th. Final finishers going the way of Luis Verdugo and Ryan van der Lagemat, with a couple of the noticeable fallers of obviously Aleix Viu. Isaac Mel and Andre Voschtek went down on the final lap, with Kevin Zanoni on board his TM also missing out on scoring any points today as well. So let's get the boys out onto the podium. Out comes the Leopard Junior squad team manager. I'm sure he will be absolutely ecstatic to have two of his riders on the podium. The first being Davide Pizzoli in third. Alcoba is there in second as part of the Laglisse Academy team. But it's Xavier Artigas on the top step for the first time in a Junior World Championship, and you get the feeling it's going to be the first time of many. So the team award going towards the Leopard Junior squads. Their good run of form continues, first and second in the Moto3 German Grand Prix last week, and now first and third here in the Junior World Championship. Davide Pizzoli, only his second podium trophy in his career, 5 years in this championship, and only the second time he's managed to stand on the podium. Jeremy Alcoba, well, he's tasted podium success far more than 2 times. Another to add to his collection, but more importantly, extends out his championship lead over Yuki Kunii and Barry Baltus. But first place going the way of the rookie Xavier Artigas, the talented 16-year-old, taking, as we say, what surely will be the first of many Junior World Championship and quite possibly World Championship wins in years to come. He picks up the Repsol cheque, £1,000 for him, which will help his journey back to Barcelona. About 3 hours to drive back for him
£1,000
this afternoon. And now the Spanish national anthem for Xavier Artigas. A Spanish national anthem for Xavier Artigas after taking his first Junior World Championship win. Next on the menu is the Moto2 boys, but first, well, only one of them is going to get the opportunity to get busy with the fizzy, because the other two aren't old enough yet. So it's going to be the 19-year-old Davide Pizzoli, the only man to get to taste a little bit of Cava, or Prosecco, shall we say, on the podium. First the pictures
en esa primera posición mundial junior, líder sólido.
And you'd have to say that with both Marcos Ramirez and Lorenzo Della Porta going as well as they are in the World Championship at the moment, it's a good time to be going well in their junior squad as well, because there could well be a couple of seats opening up there if those two continue to battle at the front of the series as well as they are doing. But it's a way off yet. He's got a championship in the CEV Repsol to try win first as Xavier Artigas, and thanks to that win he brings himself to within another race win of the now more comfortable championship leader in Jeremy Alcoba, extended that out by a further 12 points, so he's now 18 clear of Barry Baltus. Yuki Kunii misses out on the final lap, which means he's now 35 points adrift of Alcoba. Tatai, a good ride from him to eventually come across the line in 7th, means he's 51 points adrift in 5th, with Yamanaka, Holgado, Garcia, one of the fallers on the first lap, and then Davide Pizzoli popping up into the top 9 in the series after another podium finish. Gerard Riu there in 10th. Denis Ernchu disappointed again, really, given his pace in qualifying, to have finished outside of the top 10 and only 21 points this season.
Yeah, I think it's a difficult day for Denis Ernchu, and obviously with only one Moto3 race, there's not another opportunity to put it right tomorrow, so disappointing for him. But yeah, I'm sure he'll be wanting a little bit more when we return from the long summer break.
Same for Aleix Viu as well. He's out of contention after another crash, but as we head towards the summer break for the Junior World Championship in Albacete in over 2 months' time, it's Xavier Artigas who now gets himself to within 24 points of Jeremy Alcoba at the front of the championship after a first ever Junior World Championship win here at MotorLand Aragón.